Hi everybody, I'm Amanda. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do that. There's a notifications bell too that you can press and it will notify you as to when I'm going live. So really exciting today. I'm going to be making mini tartlets. And I'm going to be doing just kind of a simple pastry crust, just like a butter pastry. And I'm going to kind of, the reason I didn't, okay, here's the thing. I didn't do, wasn't going to do a full pie because I would make two pies. And there's like, could I eat two pies? Probably. Should I? And am I going to eat two pies? No. So I thought that was the healthiest choice to make. All right, everybody. I have the oven temp. It is set at 350. And I'm going to kind of take everybody. I do have a crust that's in the freezer right now made and cold. So I'm going to actually take that out right now. So you want it, the key to a good pastry. And I do believe it is across the board is keep your butter cold. Keep everything cold. So I've actually got this and I've got it made and it's chilled. I am going to take it out just so that it is a little easier to roll. But I am going to take you through making the basic pastry crust. So here's the thing. I've had this butter. This right here is a half a cup of butter. And are there comments? This is a half a cup of butter. And what I'm going to do, because you want to keep it cold, I have found, okay, because I've done a lot of baking. I love baking, love cooking. And what I found is that if you chunk it or you wait or whatever, it's very, very hard to get an even spread of that butter throughout your dough and still keep those little pockets in there. So what I find works is grating it, actually. So I'm just going to take you through this. And I'm using like a wide grater. I'm not using the little one this time for like zest. And pretty much just grate that down. And you're going to want to do it kind of, and of course your fingers are going to get buttery. That's the thing. But just do the best you can to do it quickly because you want to get that back and chilled as soon as possible. Just a second. I am going to look because, again, I always have issues with the whole chat thing. It's a thing. Oh, okay. Let's go to just a second. Okay. Hi, cute family. How are you? Okay. Now the chat's working. I did it. Look at me go. Okay. You're drinking and you go, okay, we're just going to, ta-da. All right, cool. So let's grate the butter. I am not seeing anything anymore. Rowan, you don't get butter. That's not a thing. So I hope everybody's doing well. If you watched the last video, the food was so amazing. Oh, and hi, Jar Jar. The blackberry sauce from last night is actually, I took it and I strained it, got the seeds out, and added some sugar, of course, and got that down to a nice sauce. And we'll actually be using that for some of these mini tartlets. And also, it's kind of they're really cool because it's also like bite size. So it's like a snack instead of like, a few pieces of pie, you can, have a few bites. Okay. Good on the butter. Just going to take that off the back there. Make sure I get all that in there. So you'll be able to tell now, look, okay, so it's grated. All that butter is just little flakes. Okay. And what I've got here, and I've already mixed up, this right here is a cup of flour. It's a tablespoon of baking soda, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and some salt. And I'm just going to pour, and I've already mixed it. You want to mix it really good. You probably would like to sift it. That's the best thing you could possibly, definitely sift your flour. Like I sifted these together. It just mixes it so much better in your dry ingredients. So you don't want to get a real heavy, because see, here's the thing. With this butter, your heat from your hands is actually going to warm it up. So you just want to quick get the dry ingredients in there like that. And then I've got it right here. This is about a cup of water, and depending, I may not use it all. But what I'm going to do with this water is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab the vinegar. And you want to just a teeny bit of vinegar in that water. Whatever. We'll just use a little bit of that and then get some more water because that was too much vinegar. You really just want to touch it with the vinegar, and it just helps. It really helps build that flaky crust that you want in your pastry. So yeah, just get that going. And then what you're going to want to do is chill that again. I'm actually going to add more flour because I think I put too much water in, and that's how I do. So you just want to get that in. You still want to see those chunks of butter throughout. You want to make sure that they're evenly distributed. And don't worry, you're going to have this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pop that in the freezer. And that's actually one of the reasons that I already made one of the crusts, is because you want to pop that in the freezer for probably a good 45 minutes. You really want that to get set up again. And then once you take it out, then you're going to roll it and roll it some more and double it up and stick it back in the freezer. And I'm going to show you how that looks. You'll be able to tell with the one I've already done, the different layers in there. And actually, that's also one of the things when you make croissants or whatever, you want those, or biscuits, you want those flaky layers in there. Same thing with your pie crust, same thing with your pastry crust. If you're doing a simple butter crust, you really want that to stand out. You want it crisp and you want it flaky. You don't want to get that gummy, feel at the bottom. Okay. I'm going to show you here. If you look, I've already rolled it a couple times and I've got it folded. And yeah, definitely. I would say vinegar, just a touch of vinegar in there. It makes such a difference. The one thing I will say is too much too much can ruin your crust. You really don't, unless you're doing like a custard where you kind of want that, like maybe a pastry have a little bite at the end. Like if you've got a real smooth custard, I would recommend like maybe using an apple cider, but just really minimal. But yeah, it makes a huge difference. So I'm going to bring this over here. I usually roll everything out there. What I'm using here is called Silpat. It is a silicone baking mat. It's non-stick. And so it's really easy to roll things out, set them on, and actually, it protects your cooking sheets. If you have a cookie sheet, seriously, put some Silpat down. You're not going to have to worry about adding too much oil or whatever. You can put the cookies right on. They come right off. It's amazing. Sheila, have I made crepes lately? Did I make crepes this morning? I made crepes this morning. Yes, I did, actually. I think it was this morning. No, it must have been this afternoon because Athena had some too. Okay, so, and it actually is going to take, because apparently I needed to take this out a little bit before. So we've got some breakage here. I'm trying to keep it as chilled as possible while still warming it enough to be malleable, I guess, you know, to be able to be flexible enough to be rolled out. Yeah, I definitely did. I made them this morning and I used some of the blackberry sauce. It was really good. Hi, Maddie. How are you? So yeah, I've been making all sorts of things. And if you guys haven't watched, I did a cooking vlog with Brian from Kayak Excursions yesterday. And we did steak and fries, which turned out amazing. I was really happy with that. Okay, so I've gotten to the point now where I can kind of roll it out. This process takes a minute because it is so cold. It's taking me a second. Hi, Shay. But one of the things that I was so happy with was it's something that I don't see in the store. And I like, they didn't even have like, they had it by the strawberries. They had rhubarb. And they didn't even have a price on it. I was just like, I need the rhubarb. And so I was like, hey, are you guys like selling it or what's going on here? Because there's no signs and there's just rhubarb laying around. So I put it in my cart. And Lake's like, yeah, let me check on that. And apparently they had just gotten it and just put it out. And I was like feeling so lucky, like truly. Oh, this is something I want you guys to see. This is a great example. Okay, I'm gonna hold it up. And if you can kind of see with the light, you'll see like different layers in there. It'll almost look like like a sugar cookie. After it's done, if you got a good sugar cookie, you'll see those little layers in there. That's what this looks like. Sheila, I should do my pumpkin pie with the ginger snap pecan crust. Oh, I know, right? I really should. And this year I didn't do a pumpkin pie at all. Yeah, I should definitely do that. The problem is that it's so rich. And so it's hard. Like even, okay, my favorite pie, right? My favorite comfort pie is strawberry rhubarb, but my favorite pie is Bourbon Street pecan. And I get ridiculous with it. Like it's so rich and I will just, yeah, I'll eat too much of it, honestly. Give myself a bellyache or something. No self-control. Okay, it's getting to the point good where it's starting to roll out. So what you want to do, even though you are, now see, I did say this is nonstick. It is when you're baking with it, but you still have to flour it and things for rolling things out. I just find it's really great because otherwise, if you bake, you know you're going to have to scrape your countertop if you don't do this. And this way, it just rinses right off. Like makes cleanup a breeze. Okay. But I'm trying to think, and actually, Sheila, if you can think of different things too, like that's one thing that I'm always looking for is like ideas of, you know, what people would like to see. I love baking and cooking, you know, let's do a challenge. I don't know. Let's just have fun with it. Like that's one thing I do enjoy doing too, is just looking through the cupboards and seeing. And that's why when people are like, what does your dish have a name? I'm like, it's probably. I'm sure somewhere there is a recipe that has a name that has the same ingredients I just threw together. Like, I don't know if I saw it. Like, I'm not saying that my stuff is all original. This is taking forever because I didn't do it right. Sorry, guys. I meant to have, well, like always, I mean to have everything together. But things happen in their own way in being. So I'm kind of getting it down here. The problem is that I really, really need to get this down to like probably a 1/4 inch thickness. And it is about 1/2 inch right now. So Hello. But I will say Sheila has tried many of my pies. She has tried my mistakes. She's tried my successes and been a taste tester. That was one great thing about, you know, having, a bunch of kids and everything else. If you love baking, you can just give that stuff away and everybody is extremely grateful, even if it's not perfect, you know? Fun Q fact: we own 3 coffee and dessert shops when we lived in Mississippi, and I could have used your yummy baking back then. That would be amazing. That was actually a long time ago. That was one of my dreams, was to have, like, you know, well, for me, it would be like coffee and, dessert and probably marijuana. And, but to have a place where people could go and like actually talk, like have ideas and like incorporate. And I used to think about that. The thing is I really, there are things that I am good at and I accept them. And I don't know that I would be the best person to run that kind of business, because if it turned into like a thing, like if I had to bake all the time, what if I would stop liking it? Like, what? Probably just excuses. I know. I wish I could pronounce that. But I'm assuming it means hello, and hello to you too. Unfortunately, I am not bilingual or anything of the sort, and that is something that someday in my list of goals I hope to change. True coffee shop, like, yes, like in Amsterdam, absolutely, yes, and more yes, absolutely. And the thing is there is, this idea that it can't be this amazing, chill, classy sort of establishment. And I think that when minds come together to discuss ideas, regardless, things get talked about and issues get addressed. And I think that one of the best ways, and I said this with the encampment, one of the best things to do is start the morning off with a warmy drink. Everybody gets together and there's a feeling of comfort and warmth in that. And then you start sharing what you're going to do. It really, it really builds community. And so I think that those places are extremely important. You can, on my blogs previously, you'll see a little place I used to visit called The Station. And I really felt that way about them. It's just such a beautiful little place, such a nice experience. A lot of times there is loud music, but they have games, they have books. It feels like a place that there's artwork from local artists. Like, it's really awesome. And the vibe is amazing. The people there are amazing. And they make sure that they keep that going. And they're very active in their community. And I think that that's important as well. Okay, so I've got this rolled out pretty much to where it needs to be. It's a little thick, I would say, but that's okay. We're gonna want a little thicker just to hold everything. Now, what I have here is an old jar. And why I have an old jar is because this right here is absolutely perfect size for cutting these pastries. So I'm just going to start cutting circles. See? Pop that in and pull it up. Now what I'm going to do is, in this pan here, now this is just a regular cupcake muffin pan. And it's not fixed, I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm going to pop it in the bottom. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that that middle of that circle is in the middle of that, because what you'll get is a little lip. And that's what you want to, when you put your fillings in, because these are, a little tartlet is like a little pie. So you want to make sure to have that little lip on there. And while I'm cutting these, I'm actually going to put this in the refrigerator because there's no room in the freezer. And again, it's to keep that butter chilled. You want to keep it cold. You know, you want that crisp, flaky, you know, especially with sweet fillings, you know, it's important to have that contrast. Okay, so there's two. And then I'm going to just ball up the dough again. And the thing at this point, and I've made this mistake several times, is that you like overworking the dough, you know, and it's really easy at these points to like add too much flour because you're dusting too much. And that's another reason, like, you know, you can kind of peel it off the silicone a little bit better. Let's see here. Okay, that one's stuck. Okay, I might need a little more flour. Let's see here. Okay. So, flour here. Flour this. And like and that's, you know, making a mess in the kitchen, like this is so, by the end of this, I am sure that my black pants will be covered in flour and I will be so happy munching on pastries. Hi, Laura. Laura Choi. How do I know so much about baking? Okay, here's the, all right. When I was a kid, the one safe place that I had was my grandparents. And my grandmother was huge into baking and cooking. And it was time, she had cancer. And so it was time that we got to spend together. And I just adored my grandmother. And my aunt, you know, who lived down the street, baked too. And so I just kind of grew up where there was a stool in the kitchen. You know, I was included in those activities. I wasn't cut out of them, you know, and we were in the mountains. So, you know, there was, you know, berry picking and things like that. After that, it really came about out of first an interest, because I've always been one to, you know, like when the kids were little and things like that, I wanted them to have fresh made stuff. Like it was a thing to me. I just was like, I was a recent foster grad, no idea how to be a parent. So I was just trying to like, well, it seems like fresh stuff is the best option. And so I took it a little bit to an extreme where I was like making breads it got a little insane, but you know, it's whatever. I tried. And then later, as Sheila knows, there was necessity. I had to support my family, and the only thing you can do is try to think of every skill that you have. And luckily, I was living in a very small town and was able to go down to the local store and ask if they would like to sell my sauces and my pies. And they cleared a spot at the Amish table for me, and I could sell during there. And then, and this was like at a time that I was like, I already held like 3 jobs. Like the only thing I could do, anything else had to be from home, and I had to be able to do it from like a point of exhaustion and keep an eye on the kids. So it was really born of necessity. I do love it. It brings me a sense of comfort to do it. It's something to do with my hands. It's art. Just like as much as painting is an art, cooking is an art, baking is an art. Everybody has those like little tricks or techniques or ways of doing things. And I find that in and of itself absolutely beautiful. And so I guess Short answer is my grandma. But I'm not great at short answers. Let's see. When do I bake during the day? In between work calls. Honestly, I work from home a lot, so really it's in between different things, and it helps. One thing that I've noticed is when I'm working, it helps to be doing something with my hands at the same time, or my feet, whether that be pacing, whether that be cooking, whether that be baking. You know, I have to have to pay attention, I have to have another part of my mind occupied to be able to focus on something. And not sure why, don't care, works for me. Okay, I think I've got enough circles here. Just gonna cut maybe 2 more and we will call that good, and we will go to the fillings. Okay, there's that, and we're actually gonna cut it bigger and be done. Okay, there's one. We'll just do one. Okay, so we're gonna pull this out of the fridge. It's nice and cold. We have our oven preheated, and stick these little discs right in there. Remember what I said about having that lip. You really want to have that lip on there, because otherwise what's going to happen if you don't make that little lip is your filling is going to spill out, and it's going to spill into the corners of that, and it's just going to stick, and you're going to get a burnt taste to it. And that is the last thing you want when you're eating a yummy pastry. And also, I know, like today I did, because I was taking an Instagram picture of it, because, you know, I do that. I put powdered sugar over it as well. I personally prefer just plain, or like maybe with a decorative top. Let's see. Flour. Thank you. I appreciate that. Laura in the evening. Flour tried to burn everything. You know, here's the thing with burning everything. A lot of, you know, and I've had to impress it upon all my kids too, is do not cook, you know, high is not something that you should be cooking on a regular basis. You know, a lot of it, relax into the cooking. I have found that when I burn things, it's because I'm not necessarily, my mind's not in it. I'm not in it. I'm not in the task that I'm really doing. Like when I'm fully present and able to, you know, take the time and see the effort. Like this pastry takes forever. And if I was doing, like, a lot of these would have said freeze overnight for 24 hours, you know, and it takes a long time. So it's, especially with baking, I think, you know, you have to have time to let things, well, no, same as cooking, let the flavors develop. You know, there are different ways this interacts, and things have to develop in the course of the recipe as well. Do I bake during the day or in the evening? A lot of times I bake in the evening. I will bake during the day if I have something pressing that I need to think about, like really apply myself and think about, I will start baking. And usually by the end of a good bread or some muffins or whatever, I'm feeling like I got it. Okay. So I'm trying not to set this there. Okay. Got this. I have got, actually, guys, because I was on point with this, I have 3 fillings here. Now I've got the strained blackberry sauce from last night. I have some minced rhubarb with sugar, and I have some minced strawberry with sugar. And I'm just going to address some comments real quick. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to take a good tablespoon, right? And actually on this one, I'll try to show you, but I can't tip it too much or we'll have problems with the whole thing. You want to pour that right in the middle. Under the one thing, not the one thing, there's several things. But what is important is that this is going to boil. This is going to get really hot and boil. So you're going to not want to fill it completely towards that edge. And really that's, you know, about looks too. Okay, so I got the blackberry in and it's looking good. So now I've got 3 blackberry and I've got some rhubarb here. I'm gonna put a little rhubarb in these 3, and I'm actually gonna put some strawberry on there because I know, like, for me, strawberry and rhubarb. Where do I put my produce? Oh wait, well, I wish I could see what you're making. You're right, I know, right? I'm gonna try here. Like, okay, hold up. Maybe I can do this. I'm gonna try to, like, da-da, there. Maybe, no, it's gonna run. Okay, hopefully you can see. That one ran. See what I mean? I tipped it and it ran. So that one's not gonna look quite as wonderful, but I will try to show. Got that one. Darn. Oh well, it's still gonna be yummy and I'm still gonna eat it, so it will be awesome. And if it's not awesome, I tried really hard, so that's awesome. And I'm still gonna give myself an A for effort. Let's see. Rhubarb. I know, where do I get my produce? I get my produce really just from the grocery store. Seattle has an amazing program and it's so awesome. In Seattle, if there is this program where you just apply to the city and you get like $40 in fruits and vegetables a month, and it helps out too. And then Safeway has a program. If you if you need food assistance as well, they will also match for fruits and vegetables, and they really do have beautiful product. I haven't. It's really important to me, and if I need to, thank you, Flower Child. I really appreciate that. You know, I find also, because I didn't always have, you know, these are some new programs. I didn't always have availability to, you know, go and get things like that. So what I would do is during fruit season, we have fruit trees all over. You go and you collect fruit just like you would, you know, back home when I was little. You go and look at what's around you. Like during blackberry season, I think the kids, like, I made them every kind of blackberry combination, pancake syrups. I had paths cut into the by camp. We had these just tons of blackberry bushes. I would work a full day on getting paths in between them. So during blackberry season, I could make all this stuff and teach them about, you know, the world around them. I remember teaching Holly about rose hips, how we could go and collect the rose hips, because she didn't, you know, it was something about she wanted tea. She wasn't feeling good. And I said, okay, well, we'll go grab some rose hips as a great source of vitamin C and we'll make tea. And so we went around to, you know, the old rose bushes that, you know, had already closed. They had the hips and we collected them and we were able to make tea. You know, you know, if you know your environment and you're comfortable and you use your resources, really, you know, I guess use what you have, even if you don't have access to this particular produce or the ones you want. A lot of times we can tweak those to where they're absolutely amazing too. So I'm gonna put these in before addressing some more comments. There we go. And those are in. I am gonna put the rest of this dough actually in the freezer because there's tons of filling left. And what I'm probably going to do is make a pie. I guess I want to make 2 pies. But I really would like some strawberry rhubarb pie in the morning with my coffee because it just brings back such wonderful memories. Like, okay, when I went back after, when I was going through my divorce, I went back and I was staying with my aunt and uncle who they bought my grandparents' house. So they now live in the house that was my grandma's. And the first morning I woke up, I'm just upset. I'm just not okay. My head's not clear and I don't know what to do. And at this point, it was still, I still had to wear hats with things over my ears because of that, the brain injury and the noise. It was, I had a sensitivity to any kind of, like, everything sounded just like white noise and it was really difficult. So if I could cover my ears, it felt better and I could think clearly. And I just was feeling rough. And I go in this kitchen, me and my bunny hat, and sit down at the table. And my aunt's like, I made strawberry rhubarb pie. It's kind of thicker crust and I was like, thank you so much. I grabbed like the base, she was like, I don't know what you eat for breakfast. I'm like, I will have the whole pie. Thank you. No, I didn't, but I had a good 2 pieces. And I took that in my coffee and I went and sat by the creek where I used to play when I was a little girl. And I felt okay. Like it was going to be okay again. And like moments like that are what I associate, food can be sentimental for me. There's a thing about comfort, and so that's why like there are things that I will make that just bring that sense of comfort back. Let's see. Laura, we have a beautiful berry called Saskatoon berries. Oh, I read about them. I love picking berries, like really, really. And like, I'm hoping this year, because they have these farms out here where you can go and you can just pick your own. And then but there is like the elusive huckleberry that we have in Montana. And I wouldn't mind going and hunting for some of them, except for the fact that people are getting like really crazy with it because, they can sell it. And so it's almost like, whereas I just want to, pick for my own use and personal, eating and stuff like that, they're supporting families off of it. And so I try to, if I do find them, I'll go out with a friend or something that's going out. But I do try to be very mindful. And I think that, mushroom hunting is the same way. Take what you need, but understand that that is actually a legitimate business that people, mushrooms go for a lot. You find a bunch of chanterelles, like there was, I think it was last year, it was going for $34.99 a pound, and so I try to be mindful, a lot of that. Hi, thank you. Huckleberry, right? You know about the huckleberries? They're so good. They're really yummy. It's like it's juicy or like, I don't know. I think they're a type of blueberry, but they're just like better. But then again, also, I believe it's kind of like the morels, how the morels will come out in like fire season. I think that that's the same with huckleberries, is that you find them usually, I think, in the fire ravaged areas a couple years later. Another job. I had a friend who ran a little store. She was willing to pay me for collecting pine cones, right? I live in the city, so no access. I was, though, I have a bunch of groups that I follow, of course, in like Facebook and stuff. And one is like edible wild plants. And then there's one, and it's a cook's forum. It's for people that go out and collect, different wild ingredients and put it together in different recipes. And some of this stuff is just so amazing, and I'm learning so much because as soon as I look at some of this stuff, I'm like, oh, I got to go research that. Is that the thing? Like, yeah. So I think it pays to be mindful of the environment around us and just the absolute amazing things that it provides us. It provides, there's just so much, and it doesn't have to be just the things that we know from the store. There's so much that our environment has to offer. Let's see. And as far as living in the city, that is hard. And I do understand the no access. I truly do. This last week, being able to get out of the city and go hiking and enjoy myself and just have a spectacular time, that was so important to me. It really was, to take that time, and really get away from everybody. Like, oh, let me check my messages. Whoop, no service. Never mind. Good morning, Markio. Hi, Kayams. I've read about an edible forest in Seattle. Have you seen it? Yeah, we actually have. Which park is it? It's up by Beacon Hill where I used to live. And yeah, we have a lot of cool things. We have a thing called a pea patch where people go in, like, it's like a community herb garden. It's absolutely awesome. There's also like different community gardens where you can like rent out a plot, or you adopt a plot and plant whatever you can for your community. And then there's this one where, and I'm trying to, Jefferson Park. There is Jefferson Park Food Forest. It is absolutely amazing. And yes, we did go and gather apples and other things from there. Yeah, it really is. I find it extremely encouraging when you see communities like have fruit trees on the street, like the idea that food is there. And I understand that there is a lack of education sometimes as to what to do with that food, but that's okay. It's there. And so nobody has to go hungry. If we can educate people about where they are, what they can do, how, we can grow for our communities, like, yay. Choke cherries. I love choke cherry syrup. That is so good, Laura. Hi, Roman. Can people just go and eat? Yeah. As long as it's not now. See, okay. I'm just checking on these real quick. Pretty much they can, as long as it's in the section for the public. But there are, I think there's like a Girl Scout troop that has one, but the coolest thing about these is a lot of these people in the community gardens are donating it all to the food banks. Like the food banks, they're stocked by community members that, are literally growing these plots to feed their communities. It's really amazing. That is one thing that I love about this city is that kind of attention to detail, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are tons of problems. I'm always fighting them for something, whatever, but I think in that I have to recognize, it's very important to recognize what we're doing right as a city and what we're doing right as a community. And definitely having food forests and having herb gardens and having vertical gardens. They took disaster blankets and reuse them like on the side of City Hall and have this beautiful hanging garden, this vertical garden. Like it's life and art mixed in the midst of sometimes what can be a depressing environment with really tall buildings, lack of sunlight, all of that. Yeah, choke cherry syrup is amazing. And a lot of people use it as like a cold remedy and everything else. I like it on pancakes. Peanut butter and choke cherry syrup is so amazing, like truly. Are they community gardens? Some are and some aren't. So it pays to go and look, but most are. And even on the streets, like in Beacon Hill, right? You'll have people's houses, then you have a sidewalk, and then you have this little patch of like really city-owned land. And the city has a program called urban forestry. And I know about this because I actually did a program for that. And what we do in urban forestry, what they do is they look at the different environments and the different forests in there, and they decide, okay, what do we need more of? Number one, we need to clean up more. We need to have more, wood clearing. We need to have, more garbage removal. We need to plant more fruit trees. That was almost number one on their list for things that were on the agenda, was to plant edible plant trees that produce edible fruit, whatever. Everything's edible at least once. Um, don't take that advice. Let's see. I wish we had food growing everywhere. It's a big deal. It is. And I think that, the more we realize that our environment impacts our communities so, intensely, that it's important for us to be knowledgeable and to have those plants and those sources around us. Let's see. Donald Trump found the remedy to cure the coronavirus is what? No, he did not. He is not an infectious disease specialist. He is not a scientist. He is none of those things, and he doesn't know anything about viruses. That's the end of that. Okay. Pancakes, crepes, French toast. Yes, I love that stuff. What do I have in the winter time? Different things. Wintertime, I'm kind of a hibernator because I hate cold so badly. So a lot of times in the wintertime, I would have to say definitely pancakes are a thing. I do, and French toast is too, and donuts. Like, okay, imagine anything that has like some sort of bread or carb to it, and I'm all over that in the wintertime. I will bake breads, I will bake muffins and rolls and all this stuff. Summertime, I try to like cut down on some of that, because I realize, but this whole quarantine, I don't think has helped in that issue. So let's check on these again. Let me grab this real quick. Oh, they're looking really good, actually. All right, I'm going to do, they're just right now, they are like golden. So it's like on the edge, you're going to see where it's golden. And then in the middle of that, you're going to see white. And what you want is for that golden to almost turn into like a tan. And so that middle part of the crust, because on the lip of it, you're going to have a 1/4 inch of that crust. And so what you want is even coloring around that. And then you'll know, that it's cooked. For food security, what do I have in the wintertime? The same thing I do in the summertime. I live in a very food secure area, and I also I have stores of food that I store personally. I've survived some stuff. I know, and and that's another thing about, if you didn't know about my friend Sheila, like we're prepared. We know how to get things going. Let's see. Chlora, yeah, okay, whatever. Laura, I'm sorry, I meant with choke cherry syrup. Is there anything for people in the wintertime for food? I'm sure. They just have to look at, the thing is it's so regional. The plants that grow are really regional, and so you have to look in your area. Like in Louisiana, there was, different, like, okay, good example, rhubarb. I found that I cannot grow rhubarb in Louisiana in the outdoors. And there was a reason for that. And it was too warm of an environment. And all it does is flower. And it's funny because before that, I've eaten rhubarb, I don't know, growing up the whole time. I never knew what rhubarb flowers looked like until I tried it. And I was just like, I know what rhubarb flowers look like now. Yay! Because I'd never seen them flower. We just picked them as stalks. Let's see. I'm sorry. I meant with choke cherry syrup. Is there anything for people in the food? I meant homeless people. Yeah, we have food banks, everything else. And you got to remember, there are wintertime crops as well. I believe, is it Brussels sprouts that is a wintertime crop? Different, when you grow things, you can span it out from, spring, summer, winter, fall, so that you have food, throughout there. And I think that that's one thing that those food forests do, is they make sure that there's not just springtime plants, there's other plants. But honestly, most of the unhoused have either food benefits, and if not, there is access to food banks everywhere, and everyone uses them. It's not a stigma. It's not an issue. Food is a human right. And the one thing that I adore about this area is no matter where you go, there's fresh fruits and vegetables. Like on hand, you can find it, you can get it, except amazingly for jackfruit. I was looking for jackfruit for a while, and I still have not found fresh jackfruit. But then I was talking to my daughter, and she said it was a good thing I didn't find it because apparently it stinks horribly. And I don't, and I'm not a person to use canned because there is no way that you can ever tell me that anything that's been canned tastes better than fresh. Like, unless you're trying to like infuse flavor like pickles. Okay? Because you can't have a pickle fresh. Let's see. People are making home remedies, and they shouldn't do that. They should listen to board certified medical professionals before doing anything that has to deal with an infectious disease. Have I been enjoying my beautiful patio this week? Yes, I have. And everything, oh my gosh. So, okay, first I got to take these out because I'm going to get talking about my adorable pea plants here in a minute. I'm going to brag a little bit on them. Still got a little bit of white hair, so just another minute. Yes, and the tomatoes are doing wonderful. My lavender is started to bloom, and it smells so good. I can it was amazing. So I've got the lavender, and I've got 2 tomatoes that are getting strong, and then I have my celery that I planted, which is doing amazing. Then the vertical garden has the babies are cut. Like, give it another 2-3 weeks, and the vertical garden will be like full. And I'm so excited about it. And then I have on this side, I've got I've totally skipped over my favorite ones, the pea plants. The pea plants, they're so adorable. And I was really worried because I have like a metal balcony thing. I was worried they wouldn't climb it. I was worried, like sometimes with plants, if there's like a toxin or something they don't like, they'll actually move away from it. And so I was worried that it wasn't going to climb it. But nope, today it grabbed it. And I was like, yes, my pea plants are going. And they're just such adorable little plants. And they're so fun to watch grow. They really are. They bring me a lot of enjoyment. So on this side, I have garlic, and then I have a beautiful hydrangea that I bought when I first moved in, and it's doing amazingly. And then I have onions, and then I have an azalea bush. And then in the inside, I have orchids. And I, of course, if you follow Instagram, I got that beautiful, beautiful plant of orchids, and the whole thing is blooming right now. Wait, I think for 2. There's like 2 little buds that are not blooming, but the rest of it is in full bloom. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm like, yes. But with orchids, you have to be really careful because overwater and they die. Overwater and they die. They need very minimal care. Like the least amount of care. And I think that's a problem. Like I used to kill them all the time. And then I finally realized that, they have personal space issues. They want to be left alone. A couple tablespoons of water once a week, every other week, light water dusting of the leaves, some kind words, and they're just fine. Some sunlight, they're good. Not full sunlight. Let's see. We are super freezing here. I'm in Canada. Choke cherry syrup with pancake. Oh, yummy. That sounds amazing. Thanks, Sandy. Queen Crusader. Yeah, fresh produce is the best, right? It is hard. It really is. It's difficult if you can't find it. And I've been talking with people in other areas of the country, and it's an issue. And that's why I said, I definitely don't take it for granted at all. Having, to be able to have fresh fruits and fresh vegetables in the time when, things are really getting tight is a huge blessing. And, I wish the best for all of you. I do, and if we, start planting, I don't know what the answer is, but I think planting a garden is a good step. And if you live in the city and you live in a small area, seriously, get a vertical garden. You can tie, I have mine tied right to the railing, and then it's not taking up, you know, space like this. It's just hanging on the wall. And I believe you can get some for indoor as well. And they hang on your wall, or they, you know, are like a ladder. Thank you, Queen Crusader. I appreciate you. Marky, I'm making rain cookies. How do you know? Do you know how to make homemade pizza? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay, these are looking really good. Yummy. So I'm going to try and show you here what this looks like. You see kind of the gold. Okay. Am I spilling things? Yeah, I think on the strawberries I am. But if you can see, you can kind of see how golden they are. I'm going to set them over here. Hi, everybody. Did you see my sink full of dishes? Ah! I'm actually like, man, there's so many dishes with baking. No joke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk for just a second. I'm going to let that cool down for just a minute, and then I'm going to take one out so that you can see the crust along there, and I'll cut it so you can see those layers. Because I think, you know, especially with any pastry list, I think it's important that that is shown, how to get that crust that way, because that's what's going to give you, you know, that paired with a good fresh filling is going to give you a phenomenal pie every time. Let's see. I bet your house smells amazing. We need television. I know, right? And when I'm baking bread, even me, like I'll go down to get the mail and I'll walk in and I'm like, oh, it smells so good in here. It really does. Like, I love that part. So, okay, let's get this going. I didn't mean to be quite so long-winded. All right, this is a good example here. All right, you're gonna see how the coloring is. See that golden on there? See that golden? That part right there is really important. You want that bottom to be done. So you see how much of a lip I left there? Ooh, okay, just a second. That was a little warm. I'm not gonna lie. So if you can see that little lip, it's just a little lip there with the filling. You know, that's that blackberry filling that I put in there. And then I'm going to grab this fork so that you can see. Let's cut a piece off. It's hottish. It's hot right now, so let's give it a second. All right. Perfect. Alrighty. That is a perfect example right there, if I can actually show it. I'm going to put this down and show you. We're going to kind of just take this apart for a second so that you can see. See how that flakes off like that? Hold on. Yummy. That is really good. You'll see it come off, and you'll actually see like little, perfect. If you look right now, you'll see the little pockets in there where those little layers are. And that's telling you that that's a success. You have made a crispy, flaky, buttery pastry with yummy filling, and it is so good. Thank you, Q family. Laura, I'm so weird. I like fresh bread with just mustard. I don't really put anything on it. Every once in a while, I'll put a little bit of butter on it, but I actually have to watch myself because I will go through a whole loaf of bread in a day and not even think about it. I'm just like, oh, snacking. I'm eating a whole loaf of bread. This is ridiculous. That's probably not a good meal. But it is yummy. Can I make quiche? I have not actually made a quiche ever. So that would be one that would be a really good one. I would probably have to follow or at least consult a recipe, which I do from time to time. So yeah, that would be a good one. I can look and see what kinds there are and make one of those. Habib's cookies. I don't know what that is, but I could look it up and see what it's about. So I'm actually I'm kind of running on an hour here. So I'm going to get going. I appreciate every one of you so very much. And I hope you are doing, now I can't talk because I just ate something. You make pastry without a recipe. Yeah, I do. But that's honestly, I didn't start out that way. Same thing with breads. I can throw together a loaf of bread, just, muscle memory and just knowing how it's supposed to feel and things like that. But that takes a long time. That's years and years and years of practice and a lot of mistakes. Um, okay, guys, good night. And thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. Please stay safe and I will talk to you later. Bye.